So the final part of that is willingness. So we've got righteous indignation, violent intention. So your ability to be violent, just as a criminal. Final one is willingness. Right? Willingness is most important of all. Willingness to overcome, to adapt, to improvise in the face of adversity in order to prevail. Know that there is no problem that you can't overcome by the pure force of will. There is a need to examine your own current belief systems and values. Ask yourself, do you currently have the ferocious resolve and willingness to do whatever it takes to prevail? You get this emotional state right, and everything else is relatively easy. The thing that restricts most combative trainees is their own self-doubt. Right? And we've all got that, right? So this is a place to cultivate a fast-track method to deal with that. Right? These beliefs are deep-rooted inside in your belief systems, but you need to figure out in your life, what do you love living life for? What is it you love about life? List the things you love about life, and when you wake up in the morning, fucking be grateful for all of them. Start your day with that, with self-praise and gratitude. But once you have the things depicted that you want to live for, you now know what you're willing to stand up and fight for. You now know, press that further, how willing are you to go? You know, is there anything in your life that you'd lay your life on the line for, you'd be willing to die for? And if so, would you be willing to kill for? You've got to get that shit sorted with yourself. You know where your line is, know where your fucking line is in the sand. So you're not going to fight over a parking space. You're not going to fight because someone stole your fucking drink or someone looked at your missus. Oh yeah, do you know what I mean? You're going to fight because you're a cool animal and you must get home because too many people need you and you need them. And your time here ain't done yet. So like, fuck, is some miscreant going to take me out? I'll end him or I die doing it. Do you understand? That's mindset. Now, and willingness. These three ingredients then equate to combative perspective, what's most frequently described in other terms as combative state or mindset. When anyone ever talks about mind, you have mindset, you're talking about it getting combative state. It's usually as far as we went with it, but there's actually more to it than that. It's a perspective. It's made up of those three ingredients. Righteous indignation, stand up and fight for what you want. Yeah. Violent intention that you need to muster in order to do that. That's where we're working today. Is the focus. How do I get you fucking badass mean in 5 seconds? And back again to calm. That's what you want. Right? But these three ingredients are the first. Without this first in place, no amount of tactics, skills or kit will assure you of a successful outcome. So by that, here is John Lofty Wiseman's Vital Period. Many of you may have seen it. John Lofty Wiseman was a survival specialist and a teacher to the SAS, and he developed this model for self-protection depiction, and it belongs from anything from special forces, spec ops, right through to housewives and everything in between. Right? Foundation for overcoming violence. First of all, comes from the mindset. You must have that. Now, once you've got that, get some tactics. And then some skills, of course. And then the cherry on the cake would be kit. Get some gadgets. Right? Well, if you've got the correct mindset to take part, it's logical that you don't want to run in blind. So your tactics in this case, where possible, would be proactive, preemptive. I'm doing something to you before you do something to me. And what's going to allow me to do that is a high level of observation and awareness of the environment. Particularly now, so understand how I'm talking beyond the normal civilian self-protection that I give you if you come to my class. I'm talking now tier 1 civilian. So somebody that's got exceptionally good unarmed skills, good weapon skills, can use a blade, can use an impact weapon, can shoot where relevant. You know, to carry a firearm or practice is legal. Can shoot, has an understanding of tactical combat, casualty care, how to stop massive brute trauma, how to be an operator under pressure. So when everyone else is flapping and losing their edge, you're keeping yours and doing something. Does that make sense? That's what a tier 1 operative would be like. And that's primarily made up of that. So your tactics would be, where possible, to be proactive. And they can't always be proactive. So if you found yourself in a situation like a shopping mall, and all of a sudden there's a fucking explosion, and then like two individuals ran through on a rampage with a machete, let's say. I mean, you imagine the initial shock of that. For most of you as civilians, you probably wouldn't even think that sort of shit happens. That sort of shit happens, invoked by our government or not, but it does happen. And how do you think most people would react? They'd freeze and be frozen and run in all directions like headless chickens. Well, you need to be the one that keeps us fucking cool so that you can operate. You'll feel adrenaline, yes, of course you will. But tactically, you'll be much more quick to deal with something. Does that make sense? Right, so that's what we're looking at. But the main thing, focus of that statement, is you need mindset. Keep yourself under control. If your 7-year-old daughter is bleeding out massively from a femoral and you let her fucking fix it with a makeshift tourniquet, you need to keep your fucking head, do you think? Mm-hmm. So mindset applies here, but here primarily I'm applying it to overcoming fear of self-injury to the point where you can access fucking righteous indignation and stop wrongdoing or die doing it. Right? That's it. So any good soul worth their soul, who has those they love and those that love them back, are a truly good reason to live for. Along with your love of life and your God-given right to freedom, protecting yourself and those you love, as well as preserving your right to live your life the way you choose, are all worth fighting, dying, and if called upon, killing for. In the event of their total loss, if you don't. So you've got to equip yourself. The environment is changing massively. There's a good chance that the time you've got left in your life, in this realm, you will face a level 10 threat. There's a really good chance that it's more likely to be domestic than foreign, but you could, most certainly. Now, what does that mean? That means that you're facing a threat disparity where if you don't stop that threat, you're dead. Understand? And they're armed, and they're fucking angry, and they're equipped, and they're fucking motivated. So you see how you've got to catch up somewhere? Right, well, now's the fucking time to catch up. So we are going to do a first module drill that relates to developing this preconditioned fury. So having that ability to go from zero calm to ballistic till the job's done, and then back to zero calm, high level of awareness, bring in a high level of brain function so you can determine is there another threat and extract yourself from the situation. So we take some boring shit. That's where we're going with that. Right? But during this physical session, you are going to apply combative training designed for dealing with a level 10 threat of violence. So we understand what level 10 threat is? Somebody that potentially offer you deadly force. Definition of deadly force. Any force offered to you that has the capacity for grievous bodily harm and or you're dead. That's what you're facing, right? And let's face it, nowadays, fucking people die of trivial shit. You know, they don't know how hard it's hard enough to hit you in the head with that piece of wood. They'll kill you on the first shot. Or they just stab you because it's fun when their mates video it. Anyway, I digress. You are going to learn to apply the immediacy of direct explosive violent response married to that emotional switch. So you are going to cultivate in you the ability to access instantaneously righteous indignation, violent intention. And the second that you go, you're committed. So you have total willingness to finish what you started. Do you understand? You have that mentality fused to a physical skill set. And the way I want you to think about it is not as two separate entities. So don't think about what I've just said here about cultivating the emotional response is important and then just doing the drill in back into static man, where there's no emotional content, you're just going through the emotions. Fuse them together. So I want you to perform this drill once you're competent. I'll break it down, bring it back up. As soon as you have the skill, which will be inside of 5 minutes, I want you to throw every single shot like your life depended on it. So it needs to be as hard as it can be, as fast as it can be, as explosive and immediate and direct as it can be. In order for you to cultivate that correctly, It would be useful if you could induce some sort of emotional state change yourself by a conjured image in your head. So I don't know, maybe that's somebody's hurting or about to violate. Let's not say hurt, so give you a bad day psychologically, they're hurting them. Somebody's about to violate somebody that you care about most in the world, in the worst way. Haven't yet, but they're gonna. And you just happen to be there now. What would your emotional response be? Well, of course your emotional response would be this summoning of righteous indignation. Yeah? And what that will cancel in that moment is fear. It's impossible to be in two emotional states at exactly the same time. You're either one or the other. You're either scared or you're fucking angry. And I would suggest you get in the fucking angry line, because this is where it belongs. Do you understand? Yeah. Any questions so far? No. Anyone want to get the code? No? Oh, good. Right, so in layman terms, right, what we're looking at is your ability to access a level of violence and aggression that will totally fucking eclipse what you're facing. In a blink. You're going to learn to do that unarmed and with weapons. That's where we're going. Right, so first up then, we're going to get moving now. I'm going to give you a physical demonstration of the skill set, how it should be employed, and then I'm going to reverse engineer back. What were the emotional and physical attributable components that made that? Does that make sense? Right? So if we just get a little warm up going.